Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This morning we welcome you once again to our joint press conference. This morning we have with us who will be presenting Captain Al Alexander, as well as myself. I am Minal Ayong Thompson, Manager of the Public Affairs Unit. Today, Captain Alexander will start us off.
My brief is relatively short this morning. Over the period 17th to 21st October 2011, the Defense Force conducted a total of 92 patrols in several areas of Trinidad and Tobago, including areas within the Samoa-Laventille Regional Corporation, Diego Martin Regional Corporation, the Borough of Arima, the cities of Port of Spain and San Fernando, along with Chaguanas, Moruga, Mayaro, Valencia, Scarborough, and Strawberry areas. This was supported by 66 maritime and 10 aerial patrols in and around the coastline of Trinidad and Tobago. You are all aware of the assistance rendered by the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force, specifically the 1st Engineering Battalion of the Trinidad and Tobago Regiment, in the flood relief operations over the last weekend and during the early part of this week. They assisted in areas such as St. Augustine, Bamboo Village, 1 and 2, St. Helena, and Valsine. These activities were successfully conducted in addition to the usual patrols and operations assigned. With regard to Coast Guard operations yesterday, at 1:40 p.m., a vessel which was anchored at 1 nautical mile south of Cruising was spotted and searched. On board were 3 Guyanese nationals suspected of transporting illegal fuel. They were escorted to Stobles Bay and handed over to Customs and Excise for further investigations. Later on that evening, Coast Guard operations received an anonymous call indicating that a Guyanese trawler located 1.5 nautical miles off Orange Valley was suspected of bunkering. Interceptor 021 slipped berth to investigate the report. At 6:24 p.m., Interceptor 021 reported that the vessel appeared to be involved in illegal bunkering as it contained tools for the illegal trade and converted spaces capable of transporting excess fuel. The vessel was subsequently escorted to Stobles Bay for further investigations by Customs and Excise. Coast Guard operations received a call from Mr. Kenrick Gupta, a fisherman from San Fernando, who stated that a body was seen 1 nautical mile southwest of Kings Wharf, San Fernando. Interceptor 027 slipped berth from Stobles at 8:50 a.m. to investigate and assist in the retrieval of the body. At 10:33 p.m., the body was recovered and was positively identified as that of Rondell Charles, son of Sergeant Paul of Trinidad and Tobago Regiment. The body was taken to the San Fernando Customs Jetty and handed over to the San Fernando Police. The deceased was reported to have fallen overboard earlier this week after completing a diving exercise. That ends the report. Just a minor correction. It was 10:33 a.m. and not p.m. Yesterday morning. Sorry? Thank you.
The Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, along with the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force and other arms of the protective services involved in the fight against crime, continue to work assiduously to ensure the safety and the security of the national community. Today we have a number of reports to share with you. The first is an arrest by OCNFB. Around 12:07 p.m. on Tuesday, 18th October 2011, acting on information received, officers of the Organized Crime, Narcotics and Firearm Bureau went to TT Post at Abercrombie Street, Port of Spain, where they arrested a 51-year-old woman of Pump Trace, Laventille, attempting to mail a circular metal object with 2 silver metal packets, each containing a substance resembling cocaine. The total weight of the packet was 400 grams, with a street value of $160,000. The officers also arrested a 22-year-old woman of the said address, Pump Trace, Laventille, who attempted to mail a chessboard game together with the chess pieces, all containing a white substance resembling cocaine, with a total weight of 174.42 grams, which carries a street value of $69,000. In both cases, the packages were to be mailed to the United Kingdom. Both women are to appear before a Port of Spain magistrate later today. Homicide, that's in the Western Division. Relative to a report of homicide which occurred on October 3, 2011, at Augustine Terrace, Diego Martin, the victim, Jeffrey Joseph, I'll read that again. Relative to a report of homicide which occurred on October 3, 2011 at Augustine Terrace, Diego Martin, the victim, Jeffrey Joseph, inquiries were conducted by officers of the Homicide Bureau and the Western Division, and acting on advice from the Director of Public Prosecutions, number 16512, PC Nanu of the Homicide Bureau, formally charged a 48-year-old man of St. Augustine Terrace, St. Augustine, for the offense, and he is due to appear before a Port of Spain magistrate today. We move to the Northeastern Division. Acting on information received, the Northeastern Division Task Force, headed by Sergeant Alexander, went to Union Park Road, Marabella, where they recovered a generator valued at $750,000, which was stolen from the Diwali Nagar site on Tuesday, 18 October 2011. 2 persons are currently in police custody and are assisting with investigations in the matter. Exercise, Arima District. Police officers of the Arima District conducted an exercise between 4 a.m. and 9 a.m. on October 2011. 7 persons were arrested for having in their possession a total of 680.38 grams of marijuana for the purpose of trafficking, with an approximate street value of $6,803. Updates. Again, we appeal to members of the public in the following areas. The Commissioner of Police wishes to reiterate that during the state of emergency, there shall be no displaying of fireworks, that is for sale or advertisement, and no fireworks display at any event or function. Every Friday, the TTPS appeals to the national community, the motoring public, to exercise extreme caution when driving on the nation's roadways. We do so at the start of the weekend because data from our Crime and Problem Analysis Unit shows that 46% of road fatalities in Trinidad and Tobago occur during the weekend. We appeal to the national community once again. 99% of all road traffic fatalities can be prevented. We remind parents that children under 5 years of age should be made to sit in the rear seat of the vehicle, and a car seat must be utilized when so doing. Motorists, please be reminded that driving while using a cell phone is against the law. While we're speaking of the law, remember, if you don't click it, you'll get a ticket. So that means wear your seatbelt. Finally, we appeal to the motoring public. Please, we implore you, do not drink and drive, and slow down. If you think you need to drink, please do not drive. Remember, obey the speed limit. This brings me to the end of the report for today. At this time, we will entertain a few questions. Remember to use the mic. Please remember to use the mic.
Okay, Captain Alexander, in regards to the second incident that you mentioned where they received information and they went to Orange Valley?
Yes.
Right, okay. How many suspects you have in custody from that one?
I don't have the figures with me, but I could give it to you after.
Okay, you said that happened at 6:24 p.m. and the first one happened at 1:40 p.m. All of this was yesterday?
Yesterday, correct.
This didn't happen 2 or 3 days ago?
No, the information I have was yesterday.
Okay, there was another incident where I believe there are still 2 vessels down in Stubbles Bay with the same bunkering of diesel. That is still there from about 2 or 3 days ago?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Ms. Ayong, can you give us an update on the number of firearms seized thus far?
At the start of the press conference, I didn't yet receive that information. I'll try to get it by the end thereof.
No, the figure has generally seems to have stuttered at about 131, 132. Does that mean that the police are now being unsuccessful in unearthing or locating, finding illegal firearms despite the SOE and curfew?
I don't have that information. The information that I do have is based on the work that the police has conducted. So I won't be able to answer your specific question.
Can you give us an update on the school child, the teenager that was stabbed with a pencil by a 52, 53-year-old mother yesterday in Diego Martin, outside the Diego Martin school?
As you are aware, that investigation is currently ongoing, and so I'm unable to give you any further details.
What about an update on the off-duty police officer who was caught allegedly for breach of curfew in Chaguanas? My mistake, a regiment officer, Captain? Solia. Yes, support and service. Yeah. Yeah, can you give us an update, please?
Well, by my reaction, you can tell that it's the first I'm hearing of it. However, I will investigate and I'll let you know what's happening. But at an issue like that, I know that it would be in the hands of the police, and we would allow it the natural process to follow.
Captain Alexander, well, my colleague took one of my questions, but I have 2 further questions. The first one is...
So that's 3.
Well, I'm asking 2. Okay. The first one is, in relation to an alleged beating of a girl in Arima by 2 soldiers. What's the update with that? And there's another report of a woman being beaten by 2 soldiers, a pregnant woman who lost her baby last night. If you have any updates on that for us. And my second question is, you spoke about this illegal bunkering. Mm-hmm. So far, the only person to have been charged with that was a lieutenant commander at actually Coast Guard, who appeared before a customs tribunal and pled guilty to the charges. Mm-hmm. Now, it is my understanding that this lieutenant commander was not cashiered from the Coast Guard, but was allowed to resign and go home with all his benefits, although pleading guilty to a crime. So I'm wondering if you could confirm that for us, and if that is so, can you tell us, as the representative of the Defense Force, of which the Coast Guard is a unit, why this lieutenant commander was allowed to go home with all his benefits in spite of being a criminal? Because he pled guilty to a criminal charge. So he can be called a criminal.
All right. With respect to your first question on the alleged beatings by members of the Defense Force, the incident in Valencia, not Arima, right? Yes. Right. We have almost completed our investigations, and the results of those investigations would be ventilated in the near future. What we are trying to do is at least once per week give an update of those situations. All right, so next week someone will be able to brief me, and then I will bring the information to you. With regard to the incident of illegal bunkering, all incidents of illegal bunkering, once we find out, we will pass the information to Customs and Excise. They will then take the necessary action as is necessary. However, with relation to the Coast Guard officer, I have no information on the proceedings.
So you would be kind enough as the representative of the Defense Force to find out for me, yes, and you'll be able to tell me by Monday or Tuesday?
As soon as I get the information, I'll share it with you.
All right.
To Ms. Haynes Thompson, you mentioned some sorry, I don't know. I don't want to get hints from. You mentioned some infringements on the road, children out of car seats, self-driving in a cell phone, seat belts. Could you remind the public of what are the charges to go with these for these infringements, and is the police now taking a closer look at people who violate these traffic rules?
So the first part of your question, I don't have that information with me. Of course, it can be supplied to you thereafter. The second part of your question, the police is vigilant at all times in its work. Like I said at the beginning, before we give that information, we're approaching the weekend, and we have seen where road fatalities have been taking place. Last weekend, it was a bit, it was a bit of a traumatic time for many people. We had a number of lives lost, and as we did say on Monday, even one life lost is one too many. So it's just a part of our work as the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service to continue to keep our country safe.
Just one final one for me. There was a report in a newspaper, I think yesterday or the day before, I can't remember exactly what it is, that ESP Archie no longer wants to hold her current post. Is there any truth to that?
What I can say is that the staffing of the TTPS is an internal matter, and if Ms. Archie is to be replaced, this is something that we would see in time.
Can you confirm for us whether or not she sent a letter of resignation of her post to the Commissioner of Police?
I have no information regarding that matter, but if information in that light is shared with me, I'll be sure to share it with you.
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Iwatsky recently at a public function mentioned that he appears to be peeved with the opinion expressed by many citizens. This is dealing with the road situation, fatalities and what have you, that many citizens, they could travel for long distances throughout the country. He used the example from Toco to Port of Spain and still not see a police officer on duty enforcing the highway code, the traffic regulations. How do you respond to that?
I would just like to confirm, is it that you're asking me to respond based on a statement made by Mr. Iwatsky? If that is in fact so, then I would humbly suggest that you would follow that up with Mr. Iwatsky himself.
How do you respond then to your unit, your department? How do you respond to senior attorney, Mr. Jagdeo Singh, claiming that the police commissioner is ultimately the one to blame for the so many alleged gang leaders being freed on lack of evidence? Because ultimately he's the one who's supposed to instruct his officers properly as to the gathering of evidence and so forth to make cases stick in court, to get the convictions.
Again, that is a statement made by someone else, and I get that you're asking for me to make a comment on it, and I am not in a position to do so. At this time, if there are any more questions, we'll entertain just one,
just one more question,
which will bring us to the end of the conference.
I understand what you're saying, but can you, because I asked this question yesterday, and you said that you have any information, can you, in your capacity of manager, as the public affairs unit of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, get a response for us as soon as you can to the position that in addition to gang members being freed for a lack of evidence, the DPP's position is that there is a lack of evidence and they cannot proceed. In 2 matters yesterday, no file was submitted to the DPP. No case file was submitted to the DPP, none at all. The complainant never appeared in court in 2 separate matters. And the magistrate was forced to discharge the man. Now, obviously, this is a matter of grave public concern. We have had 130 people approximately being freed after much ado from your unit and from the police service after arrests were made in Hyatt and other places. And the public wants to know. The public has a right to know. And I would like you, in your capacity or anybody else from your unit, to come here and as soon as is possible, very early next week, because I'm sure the information is very easy to get, that you give us a response from the police service as to all of these matters, especially in regard to the cases where no files were submitted to the DPP and the complainant never appeared in court. Would you be able to do that?
I thank you for your question, which, like I said, is the final question. What I will assure you at this point in time is that we are indeed here to furnish both the media and members of the public with information that is relevant to national security. Now, the Public Affairs Unit is here to serve you, the media, as well as our citizenry. And as has been said before, I know that this is the second sitting that you're at for press conferences. We won't have all the information at the press conference. So yes, we will be willing to cooperate with you and give you the information. We also plead with the media to send their request in writing ahead of time, because that question was quite detailed and I wouldn't want to misinform or misinterpret anything that was said. So here again I ask if you could send your information in writing. The address is publicaffairs@ttps.gov.tt and make it as elaborate and as clear as possible, and I will be sure to forward it to the relevant authorities.
Can I respond to that by simply saying that you, in your original statement in response to my question, you said that you are here to serve the interests of the media and the public. Well, in fact, it appears, though, that the TTPS doesn't see this as a matter of interest to the public, because this has been going on for the past month and we have had no word from the police on this. This is not the first time. It's 130 people over a period of 3 weeks walking out of the court and threatening to sue the state for wrongful arrest. So let me ask, before we go further, let me ask now.
We're not going further. That was the last question.
Let me just ask, is this a matter of concern to the TTPS?
All matters of national security are matters of concern to the TTPS. And
how much of a concern it is that you can't tell us anything about
what I would ask you is just to send your request in writing and let's take it from there.
Can you give me the email address again, please?
It's publicaffairs at ttps.gov.tt. I know you will, and I thank you for your cooperation in advance.
I have one more question.
That brings us to the end of our press conference, sir.
There are still cases of violent crime being committed against citizens, either just before the curfew. Okay? Again, and citizens are wondering, well, despite curfew and SOB, the criminals, the killers, the bandits still seem to be doing whatever they want. And the security forces, the police in particular, seem to be ineffective against the forces of the underworld. How do you respond to this, ma'am?
I have no response at this time. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for attending this press conference today. For those of you who wish to have the information regarding the number of ammunition seized, the current figure is 12,514, magazines 31, and firearms seized, it's 132.